So for real, stop asking probing questions. Stop digging deeper, and please, please, pretty please, stop looking for pain points. We're better than that. You know as well as I do that the person who's asking the questions is the one that controls the conversations. I mean, like straight up, it's a principle inside our work, is to help people ask not more questions, but instead asking better questions. And you might well know that you're supposed to be better at asking questions, but rarely does anybody take the time to share with you what an order, what a structure, what a method is to ask questions with more intent, more intelligence, more heart, more empathy, and get more of the outcome from other people that you're looking for. Because if you're looking to ask questions, particularly in a business environment, whether leading your team, looking to work with a prospect or a client, and trying to truly discover what the problem is before you present a solution, then you're going to want to follow this method. Now, there are three key components to be able to be more effective when asking questions. We want to ask questions in a very specific order. The starting position is always, always, always a position of curiosity. Why is curiosity the starting point from a questioning framework? Well, what curiosity earns you is context. Now, there isn't a point in land that you're not going to want to insert your content. Content about your value, content about your services, content about your ideas, content about what makes you better than the other guy. But if you insert your content before you earn their context, all you did is add noise to an already chaotic set of thought process. So starting from a position of curiosity earns you context. Now, where do we go from there? Well, your curious questions put you in a position of seeing things from their point of view, seeing the world through their eyes. And you do that for long enough, you start to be in a position that you can ask empathetic questions. And when we're looking to be able to demonstrate empathy, our primary goal is to be relatable. Now, our primary goal when asking questions from an empathetic point of view is to stop this being you versus them. See, historically, it's been about winning the sale, winning the argument, winning the point of view. But if you're the winner, what did you create? You created a loser. And in today's world, very few people want to walk away from a conversation feeling like a loser. Empathetic questions help you show up and be side by side. This is no longer you versus them. It should be you and them versus something bigger. Put simply, we should never, ever, 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 ever look to introduce any idea to anybody without the ability of being able to say these words first. And the words we should be looking to say first are the words "because of the fact that you said." Because of the fact that you said blank, blank, and blank, for those reasons, what I'd recommend is blank, blank, and blank. If we take it out of context for a second, in the medical industry, they say that prescription before diagnosis is malpractice. Same is true in your business. If you find yourself just pushing your idea onto somebody, it would be like walking into a doctor's surgery and them just pushing some pills onto you without understanding your symptoms, without understanding what's causing the particular ailment that you have at that moment in time. Slow the process down, you speed the outcome up. Your curious questions earn you the context. Your empathetic questions put you into a situation where you're now relatable. It's you versus something bigger. And if you truly don't know the reason why that somebody could benefit from your service, and I mean the real reason, as in the reason behind the reason, behind the reason, behind the reason, behind the reason, then you're going to find yourself in trouble. Sometimes being empathetic to get to a position of being relatable maybe just makes you ask the why-based question more times than you would give consideration to. And how do you ask why-based questions better? I mean, why are you watching this video right now? Yeah, but why are you wanting to get better at that? And why is that important to you at this season in your life? And why would you use this time now to learn that skill? And why do you want to be able to achieve those kind of results? You see, as you work through your own answers to those questions, you start to get to deeper reasons, deeper meanings, deeper understanding of the real reason that sits behind the action somebody's going to invite you to take. And once you've developed a true relatability, your next set of questions are all about driving action. And this means that our questions need to be courageous. Courageous questions drive action. But here's the trouble. Sometimes we think we have to start here. We think we have to ask big, bold questions like, will you give me a review? Will you introduce me to somebody else? Can I have your order? Would you like to buy from me? But asking courageous questions is a bit like asking perhaps the most courageous question of all. People often talk about the big ask, the big question, the will you marry me question. How big of an ask is that really? Do you think people make that ask with a 50-50 chance of closing? Or do you think more often than not people are making that ask with some degree of certainty that this is the direction of travel that both parties are looking to go in? The script is easy, right? Will you marry me? Only one of those words has 2 syllables. Nobody had difficulty remembering the lines. The ask isn't hard. Getting into position to make that ask is hard. So how do you get into position? You're curious enough to understand the context of the life that you might want to build together. You're empathetic enough to get on the same side. You're relatable. You're chasing the same kind of outcome. And then having the courage to invite somebody to take the next big action. It's not that big of an action. It's the next natural step. This is how we should lead conversations as leaders. This is how we should lead conversations inside our relationships. This is how we should lead conversations as parents. This is how we should lead conversations with our clients and prospects too. Why? Because when you do so, you develop trust inside the conversation. Because you're showing somebody you understand the problem before you introduce them to the solution. And if you try to sell somebody on your solution, they'll often say that's not the problem. By alternative, if you show somebody you understand their problem, they'll trust you with the solution. So your curious questions are what earn you context. Typically, your curious questions are going back in time. Look how much easier it is to answer the question of what did you do last weekend versus what are you doing this weekend. We're starting to be able to build a picture of their current reality. You stay there as long as you need to then ask empathetic questions. And what we're trying to do here is to understand the potential benefit of the benefit of the benefit of the benefit of the change that we're looking to create. So that we know and they know, most importantly they know, why this change is worth it. And then our courageous step is to invite them to take the next action. A mistake that often happens when people look at this model, and it's easy for you to see it today, is this is an equilateral triangle, correct? And what that means is you could think you ask a curious question, then an empathetic question, then a courageous question. It's not saying that. It's saying ask curious questions until you understand the context. Ask empathetic questions until you're truly relatable and on the same side. Ask courageous questions to drive the next action. The other issue with this model is you could think that it drives to a finish line. It doesn't. See, what we really should be looking to do is ask curious questions until we understand context. Ask empathetic questions until we're relatable. And then ask courageous questions to drive the next action. And then rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat for the rest of time. And when does this model ever stop? When you decide the relationship is no longer important. Think about how this shows up inside of a key relationship in your world. Think about how you can use it as early as today. Could you be more curious to understand somebody else's context before you jump into advice monster mode? Yes, you could. Could you be more empathetic so that you're relatable? You understand the why that could exist in their world before you introduce your what? Yes, you could. Could you then be courageous enough to invite them to take the next action? Sure, you could do that too. And then what do? You curiously ask them how it worked out. You then empathetically help understand where they might want to go from here. And then you courageously introduce the next action, and you go again and again and again and again. It's not about looking for pain points. It's not about digging deeper. It's simply about looking to discover useful truth, to find out what's really going on in the world of others so you can lead good people to make better decisions faster. See you on the next one.